Hey everyone, I'm Joel. I'm not from Priceline and I'm not from New York, so I'm a stranger to you all. It's very nice to see you all. I'm curious actually, how many people have used GraphQL or are using GraphQL? Wow, it's actually, so I ask this question like every time I do any sort of presentation, and it's always exciting to actually see like more hands come up. So good for you. If you don't use it, well, prepare to be sold. So I'm not going to talk about GraphQL a lot. I'm going to talk about the fringe benefits, some of the things that many consider to be unnatural with GraphQL, but that you should be using. I think they're really awesome and it just wasn't possible before. But to kind of give you some background, there's a lot of benefits to GraphQL. The whole thing is strongly typed, it's declarative, and you get what you ask for. So those are the big features. I'm sure most of you have heard of that at this point, but there's more. So you think, oh, strongly typed, I get these cool things like an editor and I get a document explorer, which kind of goes with the editor. But did you know that with strongly typed languages, you can never have breaking changes again, which is pretty cool. So I'm going to show you really quickly in the GraphQL JS library how not to have breaking changes anymore. You require GraphQL, you grab 2 packages, done. You grab some old introspection query, we'll talk about that in a minute, and you get a new one, done. And then you build your server, awesome. And then you write an assertion that nothing should change or break. This does some really cool things, like it goes through all your types, make sure all your types are still there, make sure your arguments are still there, like default types are still there, all that stuff, and it doesn't ever like, break in an unsuspecting way. Awesome. Oh wait, there's one thing. Oh yeah, GIF. There has to be a GIF. I'm sorry that this is really small, but if you can see over here, I'm making what looks like a really harmless change. I'm going from an int type to an ID type. And as soon as I save, you can see that my test that I have in jest, it'll immediately fail because that is a backwards incompatible change. But you maybe didn't know that right off the gate. So anyways, that's kind of a cool example. Snapshotting the schema. You remember from the last slide that I said, hey, we were going to talk about getting a schema snapshot. Well, let's do that. So this is a bash script. I'm sure all of you are familiar with bash. If not, I'm sorry. It's actually a node script and a bash script. So we require a couple things. We do our introspection query on the old schema. We require the schema. And then I dump a bunch of text on you. This is where we actually run the GraphQL server with the schema. We do the introspection query. Then when we get that response, we save it and we log a little message that says, hey, we just snapshotted your schema. And then you put that in your repo someplace and you never think about it again. And then you can write a little NPM script that just does that automatically for you. So you don't have to think about how that all works again. And then you can get a CI to do this, which is really exciting. So this is mostly for like Jenkins, but in your Jenkins, Travis, whatever, you can actually have a bash script that just, every time a push goes into master, you run a snapshot and you compare it with your old schema, make sure it's good. If it's not good, then you fail the job. And then you just have some nice messaging around that and everybody's really happy. Okay, so it's declarative. So you can reason about like what your app needs and you can understand data from a pretty high context, high level. Oh man, that just kills me every time I get this wrong. Formidable, I'm gonna email them. So yeah, lint your queries. Did you know you can do this? You can actually have a linter lint your GraphQL queries and say, hey, you're asking for something that's not there. I'll show you how to do it. There's this great plugin by the Apollo team called ESLint plugin GraphQL. We really like that. So you should get it. It's a little tricky to get the setup, but it's worth it. And there's one part here that's make you say like, I don't know about this, but trust me, it's worth it. You use your plugin in your ESLint file, that's easy. And then you require your schema and use that for your lint. That's the part where people are like, I don't like that so much. But once you do that, then you get cool things like this, where it says, hey, you're trying to ask for a field someplace that doesn't exist. And, that's awesome. Can you do that with REST? No, you can't. There's just no way to do that in REST. Maybe if you had like a Swagger file, but I don't know. That's not really what I'm here to preach about. So you get only what you need. So type ahead. This has actually changed a lot because this presentation is like a couple months old, if you can believe it. So since you have your schema in your package, you can use that with your VS Code or Atom or whatever else. And then you get, you can load it live too as well. But as you're typing, man, this GIF is really small. I'm very, very sorry. I'm from a small town, so we're used to small GIFs. So you can actually get type ahead on your queries as you're typing them. So this is like really nice, right? When you're writing an app, you don't want to be, jumping back and forth between like documentation or graphical instance. You just want to like be plunking, hey, I need something, I kind of know where it is. Let me just start like interactively talking to a GraphQL schema someplace. So this does that, and since everything is in your package in your node file, you're good. There's always more coming. This actually got merged a long time ago, but this was like breaking changes around more things. There's like dangerous changes that you may be making that this will eventually catch in the future. So yeah, there's also a great list over here for other like great cool tools you can use now. There's like a whole bunch of new like Mac app clients that do the graphical thing, but you can like auth and send headers and things of that nature. So anyways, yeah, that's kind of what I want to show is like all the cool tools you can have. So thank you for letting me talk to you, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your first meetup.